Education experts warn that virtual learning could exacerbate the school to prison pipeline for Black and brown students. According to a paper published by the Loyola Children's Legal Rights Journal, these fears are largely due to teachers' ability to govern students' behavior in their own homes. Parents have also raised concerns about how the educators' ability to judge students over what they perceive to be their home lives. In some cases, students' behavioral issues via virtual learning, the presence of weapons, or images perceived as inappropriate have resulted in teachers or school administrators having law enforcement or social workers sent to homes for wellness checks without parents being notified. Studies have shown this kind of scrutiny and disciplinary action leads to lower academic achievement. This increases the likelihood that a student may become subject to legal system interactions at some point in their lives. Politically, the elongated in-person school closures have drawn the ire of parents nationwide due to the frustrations related to virtual learning, particularly those in underserved communities, a situation that could prove costly for Democrats given the school shutdowns were the longest in blue states. Joining us to discuss is education consultant Keisha Matthews-Berry. So, Ms. Berry, what do you think about this idea of teachers peering into students' home lives and getting law enforcement or social workers involved, and that being detrimental to those students rather than helpful to those students?
Well, first, I can definitely see how it happens. I think that when we have children, we think about what the behavioral expectations are in school, even before going to virtual learning. Culturally, the expectations in school are not the same as the expectations at home. So students already have a difficult time managing those expectations when they're in school. And what happens when they're in school? They're disciplined in a way that often doesn't work, okay, whether that's through a suspension or expulsion. And that cycle kind of repeats itself. So now you take these students and you place them in their homes, and teachers are, and I'm going to say being placed in a position, because I can understand from a teacher's perspective how it must be extremely difficult to try to maintain a classroom virtually. I mean, because technically, if you consider a classroom a physical space, if you have 30 students, you are monitoring 30 classrooms at once. And so it becomes an invasive process, right? And so what schools should be doing is figuring out ways to partner with parents, but instead it feels like parents and families are now being monitored in their own homes, and that, of course, is an unfair practice.
How much do you think it is also an issue of exposing vast income inequality and poverty in our society? If you are well off, even just middle class, you may have a separate space for your child to do their virtual learning. They may have a room, a bedroom of their own. They may have a place off in the kitchen table and to the side of their own. Your place is probably going to look very different than if you don't have those benefits, that sort of income, that sort of wealth in your home. You may live in an incredibly crowded space. The child may be interacting with, in very close proximity to you or other siblings while they are in class. And that may look jarring to people who are not used to seeing poverty, what poverty looks like up close. Do you think that that is an element as well of this?
So absolutely, absolutely. I know that I think it's important to remember that schools that serve disadvantaged children, or children and families that are on the lower end of the socioeconomic on the lower end of socioeconomic statuses. Um, we have to remember that schools are much more than places to learn, right? So those students actually, when they go to school, some students go to eat when they get to school. Some students eat because they go to school. So when we talk about discipline and behavior, one of the first things that we need to consider is, why is a child behaving the way that they are? Why is a teacher observing the things that they're observing in the classroom? Is the child wiggling or out of their seats or constantly moving because they're hungry? Are there other distractions in the room, like you mentioned? So it definitely highlights some of the differences between those families who have multiple rooms in their home. And like you mentioned, let's even consider a desk. right? There are some families,
Right.
where each child in their home doesn't have a desk. And then you consider that, there are some families who can't take off of work just because their child is doing virtual learning. So when you think about a lower elementary school student, younger than fifth grade, it just becomes a really difficult thing to manage in a home. And so I think that schools have to really figure out a way to partner and support families, as opposed to making this an extension of discipline into what is supposed to be a safe environment, their home.
Politics has really intruded into this issue of school closings or openings in a major way. There are a lot of parents out there who are angry about it for all sorts of reasons. Some of it is just purely political, but some of it is because of the things you mentioned. They just cannot afford it. They can't afford to have someone else come in and stay with the child at their home, and they can't take off work to do it. And so there's all of those issues. Like you said, again, there's sometimes the school is providing a meal that the parent cannot provide, and all of a sudden that has been cut off. So there's a lot around that. But there's a lot of talk now. There's been an article written about this, and some high-profile people have tweeted about this. Whether or not Democrats will come to regret their portion of having students be at home. There was a time when they were at home during the Trump years as well. But many of the blue states trying to adhere as closely as possible to CDC guidance about social distancing. We're trying to, keep everybody safe. But what do you think about this debate about whether or not the children stayed out of school the right amount of time, or was it just too long?
That's a really difficult question to answer, because there are just so many factors to consider when you consider trying to operate a school system, during a worldwide pandemic. And so I think that what is most important for politicians to remember is that, um, you know, a lot of the programs that exist, especially for children being served in low income areas, are designed to lessen the achievement gap. If we're going to do virtual learning, we have to do a better job at making sure that these children can access their education, whether that is through distribution of more resources, more support for teachers, more support for families. And if you could imagine children that are receiving special education services, when school closes on Friday and then an email goes out that they won't be returning to school for 2 weeks, some of these students have a lot of tools and devices that they actually need to learn. So they're logging on Monday morning without access to the materials that they actually need to learn, which just um, uh, uh, makes it even more challenging just for a family to manage the whole process. And parents ultimately are becoming teachers at home. And so, it's really difficult to say what exactly the right thing to do is. I know that everyone wants to get back to normal as soon as possible. But when we consider the added stress that comes with virtual learning for families at home, I understand the desire to get kids back in the classroom, as soon as possible.
You brought up something that was interesting to me, about the kids with special needs. Even some of them, first of all, a lot of poor kids are undiagnosed, have no
Mhm.
medications to deal with whatever they're going through, and they're just labeled as problem children rather than children who have a need that has not been met. But even of the people who have been diagnosed, have medications, very often it is the school that administers the medication because they are at school when it is needed. You know, one can only imagine that all of that is being disrupted. That if a parent can't be home, they can't administer the medication. So I guess I'm just asking you, how do you feel like this will all resolve itself?
Well, that's a great that's a loaded question, Charles. How do I feel it will all resolve itself? It's interesting. I don't think that it will resolve itself. I think that the relationship between schools and parents has to change. It has to feel like right now. I feel like parents are overwhelmed and stressed out, and they desire a lot more from their teachers. And I feel like teachers are overwhelmed
Right.
and stressed out, and they desire a lot more from their schools. And so I think we have to find some sort of middle ground, where we can figure out ways to work together. But um, I'm always surprised when we suddenly go to virtual learning, and it feels like a knee jerk reaction. I feel like with all of the data that comes out about the coronavirus, or the new variants, there should be some sort of plan in place that, hey, this transition is about to happen. We should be able to
Right.
prepare families. But one thing that we definitely need to think about, especially when it comes to
Right.
politicians, if we close schools but we don't close
Right.
work for families, that's something that
Right.
it doesn't align, and it needs to.
Keisha Matthews-Berry, thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.